I'm going to try and take this governor off now. I'm going to clean these threads up with using a wire wheel. I've borrowed the induction heater from work because this is too heavy to carry up to the shed, and I can't be able to carry the bottles down, so I want to try the induction heater in there, see if it'll get that in the move. I had a little bit polished at them, and those weights are bronze, but it's these threads at the minute that we're concerned about. The prelude on that spring will affect the engine maximum revs. As it spins round, these weights fly out, or they will fly out, and push that forwards, and that pushes the control arm and shuts the steam off. Look what spanner draw and see what I've got. And 9/16 Whitworth. I've got two there, I'm not sure. It's an interesting looking spanner. What a big box of old Whitworth spanners that I bought at an auction. I'm sure they still do. The ring spanner, that's a nice fit on there. Right, I'll get this induction heater and we'll have a little bit do with it and see what sort of effect it has. Right, this is the unit. It's basically a little inverter and some induction heating coils. That's it there, tiny little thing. Runs on 13 amp supply. And that's a monster of a 13 amp plug. And it's got to run on 13 amps. So. There's on-off switch at the back. This is the business end. That's where the actual heating element goes. Right, that goes around the part you want heated. Do a slightly bigger coil, but it's doing the job. It's certainly putting some heat into it. That's actually dull red hot. Come on, bastard teachers. It went on before it's obviously expanded that much. Right, that was fairly painless. I'm really impressed with that. Really impressed. That's an old oil can I picked up from the shed, from George's shed that was being stripped. It's a Walesko, but that can tell a few stories. I've got no idea what's in it, but it's oil of some description. Just going to be a case of slowly working my way into this until I get it apart really, and then go from there, clean things up. There's some things will have to be remade, I realise that, but I'm sure we'll be able to get it working. Quite badly pitted that shaft. I imagine this part here will be keyed onto the end of the crankshaft, I'm not sure. I think I'm going to need a flame on some of this to try and get it to move. That thrust washer there may move. Yeah, we need heat on all of this. So I have to set the bottles down and warm things up. Wonderful. Aye. So this hasn't moved for a long time, a lot of years. There's signs of movement there, there's sort of. Yeah, we need some sieves of heat on. There's another spring, you can see springing behind there. But this part here definitely moves. Here come out, there's little forks in behind that push on this whole assembly, and that comes in and out, so that's got to be, I think we'll need a flame on there to warm all this up. Definitely. But I was quite impressed with the induction heat. I got those nuts away. So tomorrow's job is going to be bring the bottles down and warm that up. I'll have a look and see what that, and as soon as we can take off it. All this is bronze. This is a little collector pot for the cylinder drains and the crankcase drain. All the bits that have been left full of oil are in really good condition. All it is what it is, I suppose. The cast iron, that. The casting. We're getting a decent collection of parts now. Leave it in there, I think, for the minute. I need that tap out so I can get these covers off. It's been reluctant to move out onto a little bit of oxyacetylene heat, I think. But it's slowly getting there. This crankshaft pulley may take a bit of removing. I'll take this bottom piece of lagging off, see what lives under there. Little brass screws that are coming out very nicely. This certainly never been apart because all the screw heads and nut heads are relatively undamaged. It's obviously a one piece thing. Oh dear God, it gets worse. Oh no, it's not too bad, that's just the glands for the that's not too bad in there. It could have been a lot worse than that. I would imagine that there's two nuts, and one on top of the piston, one on top of the valve. If they were taken off, this is fastened down here onto the crankcase. I'm not quite. I need to be able to turn the engine on to see what connects the big end bearing to that piston rod. They're just glands. There's one to keep oil in, that one there's to keep the steam in, because it's a double acting engine. There's steam on both sides of the piston. I think once I get the governor off, then it might turn over. I don't know. But the guide, right, little filter there. It's beautifully put together, really nicely made. I'm sure I'll be able to make something out of this. I'll have to. Oh God. Yeah. I think once I get some proper heat on, it'll start to submit. Nice to get this one off as well, but seeing I'm doing it, there's nuts there, so I could take the nuts off the pistons and that would lift off. Or would it? I need to be able to turn the engine on to do anything much more with it really. And there's been no water up here, that's just water, that's condensation that's lying in there. Even these tins are in good condition. I think with those nuts off, that would lift off there. There was 2 check nuts on top of the piston valve. I've removed them. There's a split pin on the end of the piston rod. Lovely and oily in here. Right, so that's out. Hopefully that nut will come off. I bet it wasn't put on with a 3/8 drive socket, that's for certain. There's no way at all on that board. It probably hasn't done a great deal of work, this. Right, there's a series of nuts around the top of around the bottom of the cylinder. We'll take them off and then see if this will possibly move. If the cylinder's as good below as it is on the top there, we should be laughing. One thing I have noticed is there's oil dripping out of there, which is the backside of the piston, which that's a really good sign. We'll see if this is gonna... Oh well, yes. Right. So when you look in there, that cylinder bore is actually unmarked. And the 2 nuts to adjust your valve, and the piston has been on a taper. So we're really lucky in that is absolutely unmarked in there. The piston is seized, but I would expect that. Right, so we're happy with that bit. That's brass, that bit there. This is real quality stuff. That's brass as well. I don't know what sort of packings will be in the bottom of there. All nice and free. Yeah. So the top end of the engine is really good. The problem's been where the water's been in the bottom. And so this is the underside of the piston. That's the port there that the steam goes into. I'm just going to measure the bore. It's 2.5 inch. It's probably the same sort of stroke, possibly a 3-inch stroke. It'll be a thirsty little engine, but it'll put a bit of power out when it's rated at 2 horsepower. And I'll warm the whole block up, possibly on the gas ring when Deb's at work, and so I can get that piston to move. It's a cast iron piston, cast iron board, will have rings on it, and that little spool valve in there will also clean up. So basically the top end of the engine is good, especially that bit where the oil's been. No wear at all on that boat. It probably hasn't done much running at all, if any. Certainly got some crap in there. Once I get it apart, I'll get these parts blasted, that main crankcase blasted. I'll screw the gland nut up. There's a little tapered piece there, and the packing goes into the bottom of there. Old fashioned method of doing things, but it certainly works. And that's exactly the same on the piston rod. All this is free. This is a real bonus. This could have been a nightmare if all this was seized up. I mean, it's a little bit of a nightmare now, but it's not insurmountable. Right, we've got the bottles down here now, so I'll put some serious warmth into this lot. Try and get things moving a little bit. You try and beat plus gas, oxygen plus acetylene. That could be a bearing in there, I'm not sure. That does look like a bearing. This is no good. Some writing on there, some description. Made in England, really. I think that is that's a bearing, like a thrust bearing. This whole thing moves, or it did move. All I can do is put a bit more warmth on it and play with it and see what happens. Once these are out, we'll get a bit more heat on the part that's actually seized. You can see the shape on the bottom, the hook that hooks underneath that and lifts that up. I should have went from the other end because I can't get the punch in. Being careful not to damage any of this. The last thing I want to do is damage that, because that bit there is bronze as well. Just about giving up now. Right, so that's the 4 bob weights removed. A little rag on that. Hey. See the gear in there. So this bit here, the whole thing needs to come off. We'll get some better heat onto it now. That whole thing's got to move. And that's definitely a bearing on top of there. I can detect a little bit of movement there. I'm sure I did. A little bit of side to side. A little bit. Not quite sure what's moving, but something's moving. More heat, I think, on this bit.